You've learned a lot in life, and your passion is public speaking, whether it's on a stage, online, voiceovers, a podcast, a trainer, and you've been looking for info on how to take it to the next level. This is Speaker Show and Tell. We're a weekly show that features interviews with successful speakers and experts, and you'll get tips, tricks, and strategies to improve your speaking skills and the business of speaking. You'll get actionable advice you can use right now, and you'll get inspiration from pros who've done it. Pros that have gone through the struggles just like you and created massive results. Let's do this. Welcome to Speaker Show and Tell. And now your host, Brina Gibson.
Speaker Show and Tell. And I'm so excited. Today we're talking about something that I am totally clueless about. I have no expertise in this area, and it's about being shy or introverted. And most of my friends will tell you, and if you know me very well, I am on the very, very end of being extroverted. I'm as extroverted as they come. I am not shy. I've never met a stranger in my entire life. And what made me interested about this topic is because I got to talking to a friend of mine who's terribly shy, and they're a phenomenal speaker. And it threw me for a loop. I guess I just automatically assumed every speaker was an extrovert, and that's not true. So today we've got a couple guests, and we're going to talk about being introverted and shy, and yet being this big public speaker, which is really kind of seems like it's going against each other, right? But I was trying to find some statistics because, and I know that we can make I can't even say the word today, statistics up on the spot. And it seems like there's a lot of conflicting ideas around what the percentage of introverts there are. So I've seen everything from 30 to 50%, which is kind of a big range. And then I went to Myers-Briggs because I was looking to see how many people were shy. And they were saying about 20% people are totally shy. And the difference between being introverted and shy is that you can be introverted, meaning that you're more of a listener than a talker. And being shy means that you just have a hard time, being in public, or you might have a little bit of social anxiety. So there's kind of a distinction there. But anyway, we are going to be talking with a couple guests. My first guest is absolutely amazing. I completely and utterly adore her. It's always about the people's real characters show up when things are going wrong versus right. And just getting here into the studio today, there's a kind of funny story we'll share with you later. But anyway, Hilton Harper is here today, and she is a Oriental medicine doctor, and she works with female entrepreneurs so that they can connect all the areas of their life together in a way that makes them feel like they're moving in the right direction. So a lot of times, like, what happens is we can be very, very successful in life and still be disjointed with the other areas. And so she connects it all together, and I just love it. So Denisia, I'm so excited for you to be here. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, thanks, Sabrina, for having me. I'm really good. I'm excited about this conversation.
So I have to ask you, so you are an introvert, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so how did you get into speaking as an introvert?
Actually, funny story, because this whole how I got started thing, I'm like, where did this come from? It popped into my mind like maybe a few days ago, and I could remember my mom was the one who did it. Like, oh, she had a friend who is a teacher, and then one day she just comes to me and says, "Hey, so there's going to be this, I think it was 5th grade graduation ceremony thing. You're going to go speak." And I was like, "Speak about what?" Like, and so, I'm like, "What do you mean speak, Mom?" Like, and she just deliver some message at their ceremony. And I was like, "What?" Like, I was so confused, so baffled. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do. Like, where do I go? And if I remember, I feel like it was probably a poem by Maya Angelou or something else or someone else. And then I like kind of started with that, and then like just kind of wrote some speech and then remember standing up there going, I have no idea why I'm here and doing this. But then afterwards, all the adults were like, that was so great. That was amazing. And I'm really like, had no idea. And perhaps that came up to me now. Like it came to me now to let me know because recently I've been going through my whole speaking business arm of like, hmm. Okay, so what kind of words do I need to use so that other people would know like this is what she does? And one of the things I steered away from was like motivational or inspirational because I'm like I'm really into a lot of strategy and tips. Like if I speak and I say something, I want it to be useful. And I had to reframe the way I was thinking about that and to understand that actually people can get inspired to change and to do things differently. And so I needed to just bring that in. And I think that little story from when I was I mean, I think I was in middle school, Sabrina. Like that's why I was
Wow.
so confused about it, about doing
That's
it.
amazing.
So yeah, like that's,
Okay,
I
so
want to say
I'm
that's kind
not
of like
an
my origin
introvert,
story.
and I have to ask you this. As an introvert, I mean, as an extrovert, I freak out. I freaked out speaking my first time. I mean, I tell the story about I wrecked a silk blouse because I was
Oh,
sweating so
sweating.
profusely, and I really in my mind I thought people were just gonna follow me into the parking lot and throw tomatoes and had
Oh,
pitchforks or
no.
whatever, and which obviously is not. I mean, that's just our mind. But as an introvert, is it worse or the same? Or I mean, like, how does that work? Because as an extrovert, I'm not afraid of people. I'm not afraid to like. I just am not shy at all.
Yeah.
And speaking is a different though.
Yeah, like, I feel like I channel it because I'm connecting to a purpose. Like, there's a reason why someone, a host, event manager, or whomever said, yes, they invited me there to facilitate some transformation for their audience. So I connect to that, and then I just kinda tune in and I'm going, all right. Well, what would that be? What is that for them? So being introverted in that way, like I can go really internal, like very internal. And so even if I am nervous, um, when I get up there, like there's definitely times where I'll speak a lot faster very in the very beginning. And then you'll hear like my cadence slow down and then and now I'm at ease and I'm really in it. But that's because I realize like there's a purpose why I'm here. Like there's don't even question why are you here? Because otherwise, why would somebody literally invite you? Why would they pay you to be here? Because you have something to offer of value. They see that. And so I anchor into that to help me get out of the from the inside anxiety to just being like, okay, let's just ground and let's center. And this is what we're here for. And I think the introversion part even helps like just paying attention to the audience there, and really being present. Like I have to ask myself, be present, meaning come from the inside and just be present. Look at the room, feel them out, change up what I might have to do body language wise or something like that, or what other metaphor. Like I might have pre-planned a metaphor, but there might be something else that's going to be more applicable. So I consider it an exercise in me being present, and I even use it to even assist myself with anxiety. So it's like a challenge, yet I gotta like do it and then I'm good.
I love that. I love the whole, I wonder if that's I wonder if that's the introvert's superpower. I always know that I know it's listening is a huge superpower, right? But the whole
Yeah.
being present thing is so important. Like I'm the same way. Like I love to connect with the audience and I just love to be with them. And I don't have I know where I want to go, but I don't have
Mm.
any set rules on how we're going to get there because I love to interact. And so the interaction part of it,
Mm.
I think, is what grounds me or keeps me, just in the moment. Because you don't know what people are going to say, and I'm always asking questions and then wanting participation. And I've gotten some crazy answers before, but you can roll with it, right? And which makes
Yeah.
the audience feel safer with you. But as an introvert, I think that's your superpower, man, just to be like completely observant, listening, engaged, being present. I know my husband, he's an introvert, and man, like he's so observant. And like I don't like it because like we've gotten into minor arguments or whatever, and it's hilarious to me because he'll just come through with this like amazing point of view because he's
Mm.
listening, and he's like, and I'm like blah 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 blah. So as a speaker, I could see how that would be really, that's just a great point to any speaker, is just to be completely present, like pay attention to the audience and your
Yeah.
surroundings. And that's beautiful. I love that. Well, I
Thank
want
you.
to, what kind of fears did you have to get over as a speaker?
Definitely the fear of and I when I say this, like, I know some people might definitely go in and think, "Oh, that's imposter syndrome." I don't consider it imposter syndrome. I definitely believe that I'm here for this reason. There's this value that I have to offer. But it's the fear that is the how I'm thinking and how I'm connecting things and how I'm teaching it. Does that come off clearly? Is it received well? And so I continue to ask myself, the way to deal with it is, can this be broken down even more? Could I take this point and break it down even more? Could I make it a little bit more bite size? And I keep asking myself that until I get to a point that I feel like, all right, that's it. Like that literally is the base, base, base. And because I see things and the listening, like I love that you pointed out the listening with your husband, because it's like it's not just a listening with the ears, it's a listening with, like, what we have in Eastern medicine and other spiritual communities. It's the third ear, it's the third eye, like, you're paying attention energetically to a lot of things that other people may not necessarily be paying attention to. And so that means then that I tend to see connections, like you mentioned it, like, I see connections and can put them together, and some of those connections people don't see. So that is a fear, that's, like, another fear of mine is, oh man, these people might think I'm bananas because of the way like how I see something that seems
Yeah,
so completely disconnected, but it really is. And then I say, okay, they might think I'm bananas, but I'm going to prove it to them. And so then that's how I start formulating points and start creating like metaphors. I use play a lot in my play shops and stuff like that. So I always think like, what's a theme that can pretty much prove my points? so,
I
so
love it.
that
I love it. I was thinking about you when I went through your website, obviously, before you came on here, and one of the things I really appreciated, it made me think. I went to a naturopathic doctor,
Mhm.
and the questionnaire was like so intense. Like I was like,
Yes.
whoa! But because they're coming from, and I never realized like holistic means that you connect all the pieces together to try to tell a story. Correct?
Right,
Is
yes,
that right? And
yes.
so I was thinking about that with you. It's like that's what I hear is like you're helping these entrepreneurs put these puzzles together. We have all these different parts of our life, right? Like, I'm a
Mm,
mom, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a speaker, there's all these pieces to it. And I love the fact that you really connect all those together. You want to talk a little bit about that? Because I think this is actually helpful as a speaker when we understand all the pieces that we are, it makes us a better speaker, right? Because
yes.
we can relate to the audience. I mean, I can relate to moms like nobody's business. And I was a single mom there for, a very short time, but I was a single mom and I can relate to that. I can understand how hard that is.
Yeah.
So
Like, so the way that I see it all connected is that it's in authenticity. So many, many speakers want to say that they are being authentic. They want to present in a way that is authentic. At the same time, though, they're changing and morphing like speaker proposals or speaker reels or pitches and all of that thing to craft it and morph it to whomever it is that they're hoping would actually bring them in, that would invite them to come in to do whatever retreats, workshops, breakouts, keynotes, whatever that might be. In that process, though, they actually might then begin to feel like they are losing themselves. So, in a way, they're losing themselves in this whole process that they're actually trying to deliver something authentically to who they are. So, you can see that they can lose themselves in that in the business speaking part of it, But then that also mirrors what do you hear when it comes to parenting. And a lot of moms end up saying, I just kind of lost myself. Like I've been so and so's mom. And that's the way that they identify, right? So what I'm offering is, hey, like how can you put the meaning into your speaking? How can you put the purpose into who you are, core wise, authentically? Like who are you? And what is it that through your speaking you're here to change for the collective? And so how I blend it in, especially when it seems like it's such an abstract thought, then what do you mean? Like, how do I do this? How do I discover this? And so then that's when I bring in the background of Eastern medicine and I say, hey, I'm pretty sure you're experiencing some things with digestion. There's something going on urinary pattern wise, or something going on hormonally, something going on headache wise. How about we take how that's manifesting for you, and then let's connect that. And then I can show you through the lens of these organ systems how they're actually letting you know about who you are more authentically. And how can you start to position things in your environment, meaning types of speaking engagements, how many, business wise, family vacations, all that stuff. That's all a part of your life. What does that mean that we need to tweak? And then that way you start listening and seeing that the symptoms and the conditions start changing. The way that they manifest starts changing because now you're actually aligning to more, you're being more into who you are, and your core and authentically. You're not creating internal stress anymore. And that internal stress is creating the inflammation. And then based on your body type, it's going to manifest in different ways. And so it's like, let's just put it all together. And then I can kind of show you just how it is. Like just simply making those smaller tweaks, like that one little small change has a ripple effect into how it shows up in your life and in other areas.
That's so cool. It's people don't realize how everything's connected, right? Every little
Yeah.
thing. I mean, our gut is connected to our brain is connected to, our emotions, it's all connected, right? And so I love the
Yeah.
fact that you get to the root of it all. And really, as speakers, we do want to be authentic, and it can be very difficult. Like I've seen speakers get on the stage before, who are wildly brilliant, but you can tell that there's a disconnection between
Mm.
and it's not necessarily a disconnection to their message. It's like the message is there, like you can tell that they've mastered that, but it's the way that they're delivering it that can come off, like almost canned, or I can't
Yeah.
really describe it, but
Oh, I know what you're
I
talking
can
about.
feel it, right? Like I
Yeah.
love speakers that are real and unplugged, and it's like you feel connected to them and
Well,
you
think
feel
about
excited.
what's celebrated. Think about what's celebrated and what's being taught, right? In a lot of the speaker coaching area industry. It's like, oh, if you're going to these attorneys, this is what you got to do. You got to look like this and you got to like talk like that. And then that may not fit you, and I'm here to tell you, I've spoken with bar associations, and they absolutely took me in because I'm refreshing. They are so used to the stuffy, like, gotta have the suit thing on, and then here I am with some bright colors, and I've met awesome other speakers that are actually they are attorneys, and one of them comes in with her Converse like she's bright pink and black, like that's her brand, and so it's that like question that like if you really do feel like you're so uncomfortable in wherever you are, that means that you were trying to morph to fit. But the thing is that if you're just you, the message is going to just land so much more better and so much more easier, and it's going to be actually so much more memorable, right? Because they're going to sense that you're uncomfortable, right? Like they're gonna sense like, what are they doing? This is what
Yes,
they're saying
I
isn't really
totally agree.
connecting, you
I
know?
saw a speaker one time, and it was like the first time he ever spoke, and terrified. I mean, you could visibly see this guy shaking, and it brought me back to my first time. I thought, "Oh my gosh, that's probably how I was." I just felt like I felt like my jaw was locked. I was like, "Okay, everybody," like it was terrible. But this guy was so nervous, and instead of just trying to push through it, he said, "Hey guys, I'm so sorry. This is my first time public speaking, And even though I've rehearsed it 1,000 times, I am so nervous. And it was like the whole audience, it felt like just embraced him, like everyone
Yeah.
threw out any judgment that they might have had and they just embraced him. And I thought, wow, that's like a rule I used to
Yes.
use when I was in sales, which is just state the most uncomfortable thing that's happening. Just let's call the elephant out in the room and state it,
Mhm.
and then just get rid of it. As speakers,
Yeah.
I've had PowerPoint not work, I've had microphones not work, I've had all kinds of things happen, and the minute you just state it like, hey, we're having some technical issues, but we're going to get on top of it, don't worry about
Right.
it, right? We're still here together. Or, hey, I had a really cool PowerPoint presentation for you, so it's not going to work. So instead, I'll tell you what, everyone give me your business card and I'll send you my slides so that you can go
Yes.
through it, or, whatever. It's like you just turn the negative into positive, but you just address it,
Yeah. I
So,
think that's because, like, if we can, to me, what I heard, like, as you were describing that, is that sometimes I feel like some speakers kind of go in thinking that they're like it's unidirectional in their
yes.
presentation. And so what you're describing is the connection. Like, it's realizing that we're all wanting to be connected with each other, and that sense of like expressing that vulnerability, that like whatever it is, you didn't make the microphone that broke, like, so they're not going to find you at fault, right? Like, if anything, they're going to say, "Oh, I'm so glad like they realized that the mic wasn't working."
Yeah.
Instead of, like, it's just kind of like, like you said, calling it out and just letting them know. And then for that gentleman where he's just said like, "Oh, that was my first time speaking," I literally wanted to just place my hand on my heart and be like, oh, like, and they embraced. That's the connection, because it's there's three directions to me going on. It's going out from you, it's coming into you, and it's whatever we're all doing for the collective. And that
That's cool.
just moves. And so when you can realize that you're simply a piece of it, and you being in your glittery awesomeness is what actually makes the changes. It's like, let's go for it. Let's do it.
Well, and I really felt like I got a lot of insight from you today. I love the fact that introverts and extroverts are really no different when they are speakers, except for I do feel like the introverts have a little bit of, we each have our superpowers, right? Like
Right.
I'm fearless. I don't care. You could give me any heckler, I'll take it. It does, I might cry later, but like at the time it's, because I'll replay it over and over again. But
Yeah,
introverts,
I do
man,
that.
I think you got that whole listening, the whole being aware of your surroundings, being observant, the whole just being present thing. I think that's so cool. Well,
Thank
I
you.
wish I wish we had more time. Like I literally could talk to you all day. Like this is so fun. Like I really enjoy
It
you.
is.
I know you had a little special gift for our audience, and I wanted
Mhm.
to have you share what it is and where they can get it.
Yes. So you can actually, I kind of dropped in a little bit about that, like the mental, the physical, and the emotional aspects of us, and like how do we put that all together. So I actually formulated this whole discover your perfect, authentic leadership play style. So in this quiz, I say it takes like 8ish minutes, might be a little bit shorter than that, for you to just answer these questions, and it would let you know, like, hey, here's my play style. Here's how I can infuse play into authentic leadership for you and your journey. And then how can you do it in a way that optimizes your holistic health? So it's a combination of all of those together, and you get to have a little fun just in knowing a little bit more about you.
I love it. And so they can get it for all of our listeners. I'm gonna spell out Denicia's name. It's DENICEA and then Hilton.com and then / leadership quiz, all one word, all together, no spaces. So we'll say it again. It's DeniciaHilton.com / leadership quiz. And it's a quiz into you, like what makes you, really work. And as speakers, right? there's a way that we lead, and there's a way that we interact with people, and there's a way that we present ourselves. And I can see how this would make a big difference for us as speakers, because when you really get to understand yourself more, then it makes it easier to present and connect and be present and all those good things. I got my tongue got stuck there for a second, sorry. But anyway, well, I'm so excited to have you on the show. I really, really appreciate you. And I got to tell the quick story real quick, because I said I was going to tell this.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted Denise on the show, and I just loved her, and we had booked a time, and I had like this family emergency thing happen, and in my panic, I was like, what have I done? Why have I scheduled all these interviews and I canceled everyone, not realizing that I had canceled for 2 weeks straight. And then today showed up, and I'm like, what? Or yesterday, I think it was yesterday. I was like, hey, wait, I actually have that time. I'm not, why did I do that? So I sent Anicia a message, and I said, I don't know if you can even make it possible, but I'd still love to have you on the show. And she's like, absolutely. Let me just move some stuff around. I was like, I just thought it was so sweet. I was like, okay, I already love her.
I so go with the flow with so many things, I tell you. And like I said, I just told somebody yesterday, I was like, I'm going to put this actually on my speaker sheet. Like, oh, you need a last minute speaker? Holler.
That's awesome. Yeah, you totally crushed it. I really appreciated that. And you always feel like I felt like so stupid. I'm like, wow, I'm how unprofessional. Like coming up, I'm like, hey, completely don't know what I'm doing in my life right now, but would you like to be on the show?
But you know what? You expressed who you were, and I was like, I can totally see this. And the way that she's writing this email, I was like, let's do it. I mean, you're talking to somebody who's like, who are you authentically? Let's make the room for that. And so, of course, I'm going to welcome you in, Sabrina. Like,
that's so funny. And then I was reading your website. As I was going through your website, you had something on there. You said, I'm a perfectionist. And I was like, oh, I'm like a recovering perfectionist. But I kept reading. And then you were saying that, like, we're just no one's perfect. Like, we all have these little things, but it makes us perfect on who we are. I didn't explain it very well. But anyway, as I'm reading your website, I'm like, yeah, this is perfect timing for me. Because I would say I'm like a hot mess, and somehow it all just works, right? Like it all just comes out. And so everyone just is very loving towards me, fortunately. Patient. Well, thank you again for being on the show. I hope everyone goes and does the quiz. I know I'm going to get off. I didn't have time before, but I want to go look at your quiz and see what my leadership style is. And I loved having you on the show. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, I'll talk with you soon. I'm so excited for you to get to know our next guest. She is absolutely phenomenal and started off very shy, of course, which is what we're talking about today, right? We're talking about being really shy, and a thing I don't understand, but we're going to tap into this. And then on top of it, imagine being shy, but then becoming hearing impaired, later in your life. And that actually threw another little monkey wrench into things, which can, set our self-esteem and our confidence into a different direction. But man, did she ever overcome this, because she became one of the hottest fashion designers out there right now, in hot demand. And she's actually helping people who've never been on the runway get out there, have confidence, have fun. She creates a community around these people. She's absolutely phenomenal. I'm so excited for you guys to get to know Frances Helena. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much. Welcome from down under. I was so excited because I said you're my really technically second international guest, because we've had someone from Canada, but not somewhere from Australia. And we were talking about how the time difference is so crazy. So thank you so much for being here. How are you doing?
Thank you. Hi, Miss Sabrina. Hi, everyone. I'm good. Thank you. Good morning.
So you told me you were shy from a little girl. Is that correct?
Oh yes, so I grew up. So I'm like biracial, and so I grew up in Asia, and in Asian culture we're very reserved people. So as a kid, I was always it was a different generation as well. Like my parents are born in the 50s and 60s, so it's really sometimes children were just seen, and it was, it was a different time back then too. Like, I'm born in the 90s, so we didn't have technology, all this sort of stuff. Technology just came through and all that. But I mean, like, it was kind of like you were just seen and not heard kind of thing. And I was very quiet. And then when we moved to Australia, I had mixed with different friends. They were pretty like Australian. So, in Western culture, people are very open. And so I guess they taught me how to be more open and to talk about your feelings and things like that. Because in Asian culture, we really suppress ourselves, I think. So we don't talk about our feelings a lot. But, coming over to Australia, I think I realized how important it is to talk about your feelings. So,
That's
yes.
so cool. It is crazy. I lived in Germany as a little girl, and it's funny how different the cultures are all over the world. And I always said I don't think I do very well in Asia because I'm so loud and I'm just like always talking about my feelings. So they would probably make them feel very uncomfortable with me. So how did you get into like speaking? Like how did you overcome the shyness to actually talk with people?
Well, I think my dad wanted me to go into public speaking, and I was like, "Me? Public speaking? I don't even talk." Like, and you couldn't, and no one believes me when I said I used to be a quiet person. Like, they're just like, "What do you mean you're a quiet person?" No, no, no. I literally, you could not get a word. Like, my teacher in grade 7 thought there was something wrong. He was like, "She doesn't say a word. Like, I can't get anything out of her. Like, she just nods, she just smiles, she just draws or whatever. She does everything she's asked, but she doesn't say anything." Like, he thought there was something seriously wrong. And then he was just like, and I don't know if it was just the environment or if I just wasn't. I think I must have gone into culture shock because I'd been in Asia, for so long. So, and we also used to live in Mexico. So, it's really different. Like you just said, the cultures are so different. So, and I think, people are really loud here in Australia, like they just talk or whatever. And, I think that was the thing that was like, oh, you know what, let's try public speaking. And I'm like, okay. So went to the debate team. They have different topics and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, oh, I don't know how to talk. Like, I don't know what it was. I just felt so nervous because you have to stand like right at at the box, and then you got to talk about the topic that you've been asked to. And I was like, just like a little mouse, and you couldn't hear me or anything like that. And I used to also sing at the church, and that was another way because I just love singing. But the thing is, like, they couldn't hear me because I just was so nervous just to be in front of a crowd for some reason. I'm like, I just have no idea what it was, but I was just like, yeah. My dad was like, okay, we're gonna try public speaking and see how it goes. And I tried it and I was like, I don't like it. I don't like people. Like, I don't like to talk in front of them and stuff. But I think it must have been when I became really good friends with Australian like people. And then the kids, because they were the same age, but some of the parents were like, it's okay. You can, in this house, you can talk about whatever you want. And I'm like, whatever you want? Like, I can talk about anything? Like, oh, okay. So it was their encouragement that helped me to really like just become more confident in speaking.
It's interesting, even Denicia, who was on before you, she was talking about how her mom encouraged her. And it's like parents must just see like that gift in you, because if I were to talk to you, right, I mean, as we're talking right now, I'm like, there's no way this person's shy. It's like just, and I know like one-on-one is different than, to an audience, but, and I just assumed every speaker is an extrovert, right? We just, I just assumed that because that seems like an extroverted thing to do, or I guess because I'm an extrovert, so of course I'm judging everybody based on what I am. But it's interesting. Well, I love what you're doing right now. It fascinates me. Will you just tell a little bit of how did you get into becoming like one of the hottest fashion designers out there, because you didn't come from that field, right?
No. So I mean, I've always been a creative person and I just kind of knew how to do stuff or, technology or just create stuff. It was always in me. But someone I knew, a friend, she said, "Oh, well, you design, right?" And I was like, I had a shoe. I was really like in love with shoes. And so I just, draw and everything. She's like, "Oh, you should apply." I'm like, "For what?" New York Fashion Week. And I'm like, "What do you mean New York Fashion Week?" And of course, in Australia, the market's different. We don't really, it's a small market. We don't really have anything big like that here. And so I was like, okay. And she just kept bugging me. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'll just apply, see what happens, whatever. But I wasn't expecting to get in or anything. So, I mean, New York alone has 8 million people. I live in a city with like 2 million people. And so I applied and then I get a message. So I think this was March last year. A lady said to me, "Oh, I'm from like Runway 7 Fashion. Do you want to showcase? Blah, 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 blah." And I was like, "What do you mean showcase? Like, what, what am I going to showcase? I don't have anything to showcase." And then I told my friend who told me that, apply. And I said, "Oh, hey, I got in. What do I do now?" She's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Well, you told me to apply. Like, and so we just kind of got stuck with it. And so we're called Beautifully Diverse Fashion, which is based off my travel experiences as a kid because we've lived like all over the world. And then it's basically to say that beauty is in so many different shapes, different colors. But the one thing we also do is we don't have a criteria on the modeling. And a lot of, I model as well, like in Australia, but a lot of modeling companies have, a criteria on height, on all this sort of stuff. So I don't put one on. We just pretty much, we're like, well, look, we're going to teach people everything they do in fashion. It's learnable. That's why it's called the catwalk, right? I mean, you have a cat and he just walks or whatever they do, but we basically, anybody can do this. So it's like, for example, our friend, when we did New York Fashion Week in February, she's actually from the village in Ghana, and she used to study with me in Australia. So I hadn't seen her in 2 years. And so she flew from Ghana to New York. And she was a bit skeptical too, because she was kind of like, "Oh, I've been watching Runway. There's all these skinny girls, all this sort of thing." And she was a plus size, and so she was like, "I'm not too sure." And I said, "Hey, look," because I was inspired by a show in Austria, so it was basically like a all African culture and everything. It wasn't really about the modeling; it was more about the people, the culture, and the history. And it did really well. I think it was just before the pandemic, so she walked. I think the show was about 10 minutes. There was 3 designers on, and so we were the first ones on. They were like, "Here you go." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And this was all new to me. Never had done anything like this apart from me being an event planner, but this was like a major step up. And then so she walked out there, and she got a round of applause actually. So she walked out there, did her thing, and then later on we found out she actually got voted favorite look by the production. So she's from this tiny
Wow.
little village and had never walked, and now she's like a thing.
And so that's what you're doing. You're helping people who've never walked before actually be on the catwalk, correct?
Yes. And so especially, it's all about, I guess, boosting their confidence, to say to people, just be yourself. Like, okay, yeah, fashion it's starting to change just a little bit and it's evolving, and we wanted to add value to the industry to say that, anybody can do this. And it's been proven because she literally just did that. And that was back in February. So
Well, so tell me, walk us through like a little bit. How do you get someone to be confident? Because I mean, that's a huge undertaking to get someone to walk down a catwalk during Fashion Week of all things. I mean, how do you do that?
what did we even do? So all the people we had on this for the first group was basically because we did Philadelphia 2 weeks later for Black History Month. But with New York, we had basically been planning for a while. So we were supposed to do it in September last year, but we had to postpone it. So we did it February. And, I think for us, we really kind of built a rapport with the team. So it wasn't just about me saying, this is what you're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. We took, other people's ideas and was like, well, what do you think we could do? What do you how do you think it should look? But I was basically like, look, this is my idea, and this is what we want to present. And so, we basically created. Because I do a lot of networking, and that's how I found some of the people that I have. And so, I spent a lot of time thinking about what we could put out there. And I did a lot of research, and especially coming from the other side of the world, I was like, I have no idea what's out there. What is going on at New York Fashion Week? What is New York Fashion Week, first of all? Like, I knew what it was, but I didn't realize how big it was. Like, I thought Central Park was 20 minutes to walk through. And someone told me, no, it takes 2 hours. I'm like, oh, okay. So, when I got there, I was like, whoa, it's like the movies. It's huge. Like, I never seen anything that big before. Like in Asia, the buildings are, tall, but I don't think they were taller than what I saw. I'm like, okay, this is really huge. But, so we spent a lot of time just building rapport with the people, with each other. And, I would check in and actually, spend time getting to know them, but we would do Zooms just to really help build that confidence. And then some people, who had experience, they would basically do demonstrations on how to like walk or what to do and all this. I think one of the boys, his missus is from she was Miss Universe Aruba 2020. So he was one of the models, and he was actually doing the demonstration on Zoom across, and we had maybe about 5 different time zones. So he was like, oh, just relax, you just walk and do this, and then you pose, and, you do your sexy tit or whatever, all this sort of stuff. So he was literally giving a demonstration. We had, we even included the photographers in there. So, they were telling us, how the camera angles would look or where they would stand and all that. So it was really about, I think, that encouragement from other people had really boosted everybody else's confidence. And plus, they were, watching different videos and some of the other videos that I've been inspired by. Especially there was another group from Hawaii. They got a standing ovation. They did the same production as we did. And they were basically telling the history of the culture and all that. And a lot of, and I'm also like Polynesian myself. So, a lot of us we're not skinny people. So, we're very on the plus side, but we're very proud of it, So I think it was that sort of encouragement that people got from each other to say that it's going to be okay. You can do this. So. Yeah.
Well, I love this. I'm going to relate this to the speakers because, that whether you're shy or not as a speaker, I mean, you're really putting yourself out there. And I'm so sorry. My dog decided to bring his toy in and shake it. So if you hear him growling and stuff below me, forgive me. He just decided to be part of the show today. So, and it never fails. He's been sleeping all day. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, podcast, I must get on. That I was thinking about this, you really created this community of people to surround around. And then the whole creating that rapport, that makes a big difference as a speaker. It's like when we go to stand on that stage, it can feel like we're standing there naked and being judged. And really, it can be very terrifying even. And I'm extroverted. And I can tell you there's been several times where you just feel terrified. Like, what have I done? Why am I doing this? And I think the way that you approached it was really helping people feel like they're included. And then the second point of it was like bringing these tips from experts who've done it. So actually showing them an example of how to walk on the catwalk, the photographers giving them tips so that they can improve. And as speakers, I think that that's really important for us too, is to get that valuable feedback or hear it from people. That's why this show, like, I love it so much. I learn a ton because as a speaker, sometimes we just go out there and do it, right? And then we kind of learn by trial by error or whatever. But with you, then it's like, then not only that, where you were building their confidence by allowing them to see others, like giving them the perspective, but then you created that community around them of support, which I think is so beautiful. I mean, that's really what we hope to do with our podcast, is to really build a community of speakers where we support each other, where we encourage each other. For years, I ran a speaker networking group in California, and then I did one in Arizona as well. And it was so fun. I mean, we learned so fast, and we used to have this little exercise that we used to do where we'd have 2 speakers speak for 10 minutes. I think it was 10 minutes at a whack. And I don't know if you've ever tried to do a speech in 10 minutes. It is hard. we like to talk forever, and it's like to get it down into a 10-minute segment can be very challenging. But that's the exercise we would put our members through, and they would volunteer. Like, you didn't have to do it, but you could volunteer. And then everybody else gave you anonymous feedback. We tell them one thing we thought that they could improve on, and 3 things that we thought they were doing correctly. That was invaluable. That made such a huge difference for us. And we really enjoyed it. And, like everyone as a speaker, but I love that's what you did with these people on the catwalk. And then you're giving them an experience that they've never had before, which is just amazing. Like, you have to be just so pinching yourself on what you've accomplished in you've been doing this, for a year, you told me?
Yes, about a year. So I think we've only done 2 fashion shows, but we've been asked for like pretty much everything on the planet, like London, Jamaica, Paris, Milan, Hong Kong, Dubai, and they just keep coming. And then plus, all the little local fashion shows around the US and everything. So yeah, we've been asked for a lot, and I put up for some awards as well. So.
Wow, congratulations. I mean, that is I'm so excited for you. That is so cool, Francis. And do you mind just telling our listeners and our viewers, like, can you tell them a little bit about what is the fashion line?
So it's basically called Beautifully Diverse, which is basically based on the travel experiences I've had. But we're also about sustainability. And, recently, especially with COVID, a lot of businesses have been going sustainable, eco-friendly, all that sort of thing. But from my personal experience, it was also about finances. Like, to put on this whole thing is pretty expensive. So I was only using what I had at the time. And so I basically went to like the thrift store or whatever clothes I, previously had, or other clothes that people donated. So I taught myself how to sew, but I also had, other people that teach me just to make, simple things like hair scrunchies, you know, uh, hair bands, all that sort of stuff. And then I would just look on YouTube and look at how to create things or how to just pretty much make anything. And then instead of just taking, the whole process of like resewing something, I would basically just take an item and, just look at it and decide what to do with it, and then cut and use different parts of it, and then just change it up and add things. So basically, we do and we don't do a lot of sewing, but it's also about basically I could take like the shirt that you're wearing, for example, and then basically turn it into something else. So that's a lot of what we do.
That's so cool. I have to get my daughter to follow you on Instagram because she just got into sewing, and she's not been sewing. She sewed for like, I don't know, she'd been sewing for 2 days, and she came out and had this adorable top on, and I was like, "Where'd you get the top?" I don't remember ever seeing. She goes, "Oh, I just made it." And I said, "What do you mean you just made it?" It was like, took her half an hour. She just had like some material that she really loved, and she just put it into a little top. And I thought, wow, and it wasn't perfect, but it was so adorable. It was like, it looked unique, like the style. And I'm like, "How'd you even learn how to do that?" She goes, "I don't know. I just kind of saw it and, put the pieces together." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't have that skill set at all. That is not my talent." But she is amazing. So I'm gonna have to get her to follow you because she'll probably just love the fact that you're doing that. And do you mind if we share your Instagram in case people want to follow you and get involved with you and cheer you on and watch your growth? Would that be okay if we share that?
Sure, definitely, yeah.
So I'm going to put it up here. It's so your Instagram handle is the Francis Helena. So the, like, THE, Francis, which is FRANCES, and then Helena, HELENA. The Francis Helena, and on
Yeah.
Instagram. So I hope everyone connects with you because you should be on every entrepreneur show. I mean, like, you are, as speakers, it's like, I always think about speakers, like, there's people at different phases of their life, right? In the speaker realm or whatever. It's people who are thinking about getting to speak, right? Doing the unthinkable almost, or it seems so hard to do it, the first speaking engagement. And I love what you've done is because you've really done it. You just went there and you're like, "Hey, I'm just going to do this." Your friend said, "Hey, you should apply to the fashion week," and you did, and then you get accepted. It's like, that's amazing. And then you didn't even have a real product line, right? At that point?
Oh no, nothing. Like
What?
nothing. It's just like things that I've been drawing, and then I had some shoes because I've always loved shoes, right? So they had a friend, basically we tested it out. So they spray painted it just to see, because we didn't have a manufacturer and everything. But now we've got like a manufacturer over in the Philippines. So my mom just came back from the Philippines, so she just brought me the shoes that I made about a year ago. So
Oh my gosh, what a trip. This is so cool. So, I mean, really, you literally just went for it. And I love that. And that's what we usually tell people as speakers, like, just go for it. And, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to like have lots of things that, you learn along the way. But then you started building this community. And I think that's the key. I mean, really, to your whole success is like you started to bring all these other people into it, like having people who are maybe not the traditional model, like walking down the catwalk. I mean, wow, talk about being a pioneer in the industry. I just love that. I love the fact that you are representing so many different people in what you're doing. Yeah, that's so cool. I just love it. Well, I love having you on here. I mean, you definitely do. If I were to ever meet you, I mean, this is like really the first time you and I got to meet. I'd never guess that you were shy, ever. I'd never even label you as introverted, anything. And then look at what you've created and how you're helping so many people. So we talked about superpowers before. What would you say your superpower is in all this?
I think bringing people together. So I can throw people in a room who literally don't like each other, and they'll be okay.
That's so cool. I love that. I love that. That is really cool. That is a superpower. I mean, and really, in the speaking realm, I mean, we come across all kinds of personalities, all kinds of audiences, and to be able to put a group together and be able to create that synergy, that is a superpower. That's amazing skill set there. Well, I love you, Francis. I'm going to be following you on Instagram now because I want to just cheer you on. I want to hear all the really amazing things that you accomplished, and I'm excited to hear about your awards. I mean, you're crushing it right now. I just totally love that. I'm excited to see what the future holds for you. I really appreciate you being on the show. I mean, I found such value in your story. I found such value in what you're doing. And I know the speakers that are listening are too. So again, if you want to follow Frances, please go to Instagram. It's the Frances Helena is her handle. It's all one word, all together. And I hope everyone connects with you there. Any last tip for speakers before we leave that maybe you could recommend?
Um, I guess there's really no wrong or right way to do something, right? Any activity, whether it's speaking or going on the catwalk. I think you have to go for it. My dad always was like, you never know until you try. Like even if you fail the first time, you just get up and go again. And so I think that's always just kind of like stuck in me and just lived with me. Like just keep going. Like no matter how hard it is, just give it a go. Even if you like, and it's the same with food, right? Because when we traveled, we would always be like, oh, try everything. And I've tried so many things that sometimes I'm like, no, I'm definitely not trying that again. But I tried it, so it's going to be okay. And the first time's never perfect, but if you do it over and over again, especially like sewing, like how your daughter was making that top, she'll get it. Like it's just practice. It's going to
I
be
love
okay.
that. I love that. I love the fact that you never give up. And I love food. And my mom and dad used to always say, you have to try at least 3 bites. And their point was, is that the first time you try it, you're like, what is this? And the second time, you're like, okay. And then by the third time, you can actually, evaluate whether you really like it or not. So I love that. I love that. And I think speaking is the same way. The more, you can do something just enough to hate it. And I think with speaking, when you do it, it's like the more you do it, the more fun it is. I can always tell when I'm out of my speaking, like when I haven't done speaking for a while and I'll go back and do it again, almost like, oh my gosh, what have I done? This is terrifying. But when I was in it, like I talked about this on another show, I did 100 speaking engagements, free speaking engagements in a year. And man, by the time I got to the fourth or fifth one, it was just like, it didn't matter what you threw at me. I'd seen, like a lot, but then by the time the end of the 100th, forget it. I was like a pro at that point, like you could do anything. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I saw some pretty wild stuff when I was speaking. I mean, just things that happen or, like at one time I went and I was supposed to speak for an hour and something had happened at the very last minute. And he said, can you do, I don't want to cut you completely, but can you do 10 minutes? And I was like, yeah, I can totally do that. Like that's a big difference. And so I don't know, you just get kind of used to it, but I love that. So inspiring. You're very inspiring. I hope every entrepreneur, every speaker follows you. I think you're absolutely amazing. So, well, thank you for being on the show. Maybe we can have you back on in a little while later. And I want to hear like the success that you've generated. I think that would be so fun. I mean, as if you haven't generated enough, but I want to hear what has happened because it's, like to be continued. I want to hear it.
Yes, definitely. And you could come on our podcast as well. So that would be fun.
I would love it. Oh my gosh, what an honor. I would totally love that. Well, thank you, Frances, for being here. And I'll look forward to connecting with you again and talk to you soon. And I'm sure we'll be connected on Instagram. So thank you.
No worries. Thank you. Bye.
Wow, what an incredible show. I'm just always blown away. I love entrepreneurs to begin with because they are total heroes. And then to be a speaker, that's another layer of that. And just to see Helena, what she's done and what she's overcome and just fearless. And in my point of view, it's like nothing stopping her. And I love that. I think as speakers, sometimes, we can get kind of beat up. I mean, I had a horrible speaking experience one time and I swore I'd never, ever speak again. And then I realized, you know what, that was like a one-off. It wasn't even my fault. It was just, it was like the audience was wrong for me. Just everything. I got heckled in a really weird way. So, but that, that's just like the one thing out of all the speaking, all the rest of them, I just had, and even from that, I had a really positive experience. So I think sometimes we can get in our head and I really loved her message about just keep moving forward. So I'm so excited for you guys to be here. If you haven't done so yet, if you love the show, we'd love a 5-star review, please, everywhere that you can, whether it be Spotify or iTunes or wherever you happen to be listening. We'd love a 5-star review. It'd be a really wonderful gift to us if you found value from our show. We're going to keep having amazing guests like we did today with Anicia and with Frances. I love it. I just feel like I've learned a lot today. Even though I'm not shy or introverted, I definitely learned some really valuable tips. So please, if you're anywhere on social media, also give us a shout out. Ask questions. Tell us what you liked. What would you like to see in future shows? You can just hashtag Speaker Show and Tell. It's all one word in any platform you happen to be, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, wherever you happen to be. If you want to hashtag it, we would love to hear and have you be involved with the show more. So thank you so much. And then as always, you can always go to our website, which is speakershowandtell.com. Feel free to get involved. If you would like to be on the show, please go to speakershowandtell.com and click get involved. And then you can just do a guest form there. Well, thank you for being here. And as I always say, I look forward to seeing you on the flip side.
You've been listening to Speaker Show and Tell. Eric and Sabrina have spoken on all types of stages and have easily done over 2,000 speaking engagements. They understand the strategy, the sales, and the marketing of the speaking business. Plus, they have on the pros that have done it, pros that have gone through the same struggles as you and created massive results. We hope you've enjoyed the show, and we hope you've gotten something from it. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on social media at Speaker Show and Tell. Thanks for being here, and we'll catch you next time.